Okay, here's a video. I made another one and it did not upload right, so I'm trying to make this faster than the other one. It was too long. But anyway, what I did was I start out with, this is going to be a top layer, middle layer, and bottom layer, and I set it out in order. And you need to switch out the edge pieces from the second one to make one fully functional one. I set the pieces out to try to save some time. I already got the bottom layer set up. They're going to be one whole edge. These are split edges. You want to switch out 3 of the whole edges from the other 2, 3, 4 for the split edges. And you want a whole edge, which is going to be for the internal mechanism from, like on the 4x4s, from coming out of alignment. You're going to have on one center, there is going to be one of these little split edges glued to it. It should already be glued to it. There should be one center with a glued small split edge glued to it. That one I'm going to use for the bottom. Then it's got a little divot, a little crevice right on this split edge. You should see it when you're looking at it. And the one edge is going to have another piece that is inside it, and that's going to lock with the glued small split edge. And what you're going to do is put the remaining edges in, the split edges. You want to make sure that the small split edge is touching the bottom center, and then when you build the top, they're going to be touching the top center. You don't want them touching none of the sides. So here's my whole edge that's basically attached to the glued in small edge, and that's going to be used for my middle layer, like this one here. This is I'm calling this the middle layer, and these are the outside. You can see these are locked up, bandaged, is because I switched out the whole edges for it. So this is basically a 2, 2, 3. So when you're gonna start building it, you want to make sure that your whole edge, mine's right here, is going to be my centerpiece. So I'm going to start with putting my center edges, or center pieces in, my bottom layer center pieces. It took me, the first video took me too long when I was trying to assemble the inner edges on the bottom layer, so I'm trying to shorten it up. So then when you build your bottom layer, and then you're going to build your middle layer. You don't need none of these for the middle layer, because these are technically your edges, extended edges, or however you want to call these. So these, you want to just make sure your whole edge, the one whole edge you do need in here, is in one of these 2 middle layers. And once you have that done, making sure they swivel. If they swivel, then you got the pieces in right. Now I set that aside. Now take your top layer. I have it all arranged ready. Then what you do is I take the center. It's easier to build the last layer like this instead of trying to put this in and trying to put all the little pieces in. Then what I do is I put the center inside the 4 middle pieces. I don't know how well the camera's getting this, but I don't have a good camera to be doing close-ups and stuff. So once I get the center in, I'm going to go ahead and put it back in line. If you want to use some masking tape, excuse me, masking tape to help support these, that's for you to decide if it's easier for you. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take, once you get the center in, you're going to take the smaller split edges and you're going to put them in first. You want the smooth part facing downwards, and there's going to be the little notch is going to be facing up, and you're just going to pop them in, one in each side. I don't know if the camera's picking this up too well, but I put one in each of the 4 sides. And then I'm going to take the bigger half of the split edge, and you'll see there's a bigger divot on one end from where the piece rests. Then you're going to put that in first. You're going to have this part sticking up. I don't know if it's picking it up, but there's like a thin side half and a thicker side. The thinner side is going to be the one that's going to be touching the smaller edge piece. And that's, you want that sticking up, the thicker side sticking up. So when you stick those in all the way around, I tried showing it's just taking me too long to build the whole thing from top to bottom, so I had to shorten it up so to make it a little faster. So now that I got it all done, then you can take this and you can turn it upside down. Just, it shouldn't come out, and then just connect it on, and then carefully flip it over. Then you're going to take your screw and spring and you're going to put that in real carefully. You want to carefully pull apart the 2 centers. And this is how I do it. So like I said, you got to be careful, because you don't want the whole thing popping out and then you have to take it apart and reassembling it. Stick that in and carefully try to push it down in there without the whole cube or the whole top part here popping out and getting the pieces out of line, popping out. And if that does happen, when you get the screw in and you start putting the screw down, check to see if it's popping up somewhere, then something popped out and you have to take it back off and redo it. But if it sits flat, then it should be fine. I'm going to go ahead and finish screwing this down, and then check to see if it's too tight. That one, to me, that's too tight, so then I can just back it off a little bit until I get to the tension. Then I can adjust my tensions. However, I like, whoops, okay, that's better. And that should fix the problem with the locking, and make sure that they're spinning, and then you shouldn't have a problem at all. Usually when you do something like this, flip that, these would lock, and you can see mine's not locking at all, so I'm happy about that. So there you go. I hope that helps you. Thanks, and